what I have that can never be taken away from me is my integrity. And people work with me because they trust me.
Welcome to the Energy Upgrade Podcast. I'm your host, Vanessa Grutman. And if you are a high-achieving woman, a successful entrepreneur, an inspiring entrepreneur, or just a woman with kick-ass big dreams, you're in the right place. If you value your energy, your health, if you want to be a biohacker, tap into longevity, if you want to raise the impact you have in this lifetime, you're going to have a lot of fun around here. As a second-time seven-figure business creator, certified health practitioner, and soul biohacker, I'm here to reconnect you to your energy, to the soul of your business, and to your superpowers. Let's go. Welcome home. Today, I have the wonderful Zoe Pawlak with us, and I am so thrilled about for this conversation we're about to have. And maybe I'll just quickly introduce you to Zoe if you are new to her world. She is an artist, industrial designer, born and based in Vancouver. However, you've spent some time here in Montreal, so you speak a little bit of French. And I want to call you almost like a celebrity artist, because your paintings, which if you're watching on YouTube, the painting that she has behind you is for me. I need this painting. She did this on purpose. But you are in, the rooms of, I was reading Christina, Trevor Linden, the government of Canada. You are in some stores. And you are, a very prominent artist in BC. So thank you for being here. I'm excited to have this conversation about leadership, entrepreneurship, creativity, all of it. So thank you for being here.
I'm really excited. I knew our paths would cross and it would happen quickly and smoothly, and it certainly did.
Of course, that's always how it works in both our worlds. Yeah. And when we're meant to be, we're meant to be. So talk to me before we talk about this journey of being an entrepreneur and an artist, which is certainly two things that usually don't go together. I would love to hear about how you fell into, this role as an artist, because you truly are mind-blowing and exceptional. So talk to me about your story a little bit.
Thank you. I have been doing this full time for 18 years. And so that's the duration of my professional career. And in that time, I did the first 8 years on my own with no staff or anything. It was just a bootstrapped hustle. And then in the past 10 years, I've had 1 to 2 or 3 staff at whichever time. And that practice has been between Vancouver and Montreal. So I spent a large chunk of that time in Montreal having a very in-depth, wonderful practice in an incredible studio. And in that time, I was also exposed to a lot of trips to New York. I took advantage of my time being that far east in our big country and took myself to New York probably around 15 to 20 times and was represented there briefly. But otherwise, I've represented my own work my whole career. And so I threw my first art show at 18. I put some stuff up on some walls of a, hall that I had rented for $400 in my hometown. And, I always just figured, at least if I broke even, I would have a few more pieces in people's houses, or I would have, some extra $200 or $300 for some supplies. So I've been building my business that way for 18 years since our daughter was born, and my kids are 18 and 16. So they've been a very formative part of this journey, not only in that they're a huge part of my life, but they have really come to inform how it is that I've approached my career and the ethos that I operate with, and really my raison d'être.
Mm-hmm. So essentially, you've known your whole life that this was your calling.
I am in an interesting position right now because I am 42, and I think that after 40-ish, it can happen at a certain, 35, 40, 44, 45, 50. But I'm in a second phase of life right now. And so a calling, yes, it's been a vocation. It's been a calling in some sense. And I believe, just like soulmates, we have sort of a number of callings in our lifetime. And so I'm being called more and more towards more like public speaking, helping people heal from sobriety, my oracle deck, which we can talk about afterwards, and teaching. Actually, lately I've been teaching yoga a little bit to people who are newly sober. So I have a number of callings recently that are, and I say calling because they're literally calling to me and wanting to expand me in different ways and literally taking me places that I never imagined. So I wonder if this isn't the ship that will get me there, painting, but I have lived with this as my vocation, full time for 18 years.
That's so incredible. And I love that you're referring to these callings by saying they're coming to you. It's like you don't really have a choice. You can't just deny them. They're there, they're present, and they're making themselves seen and felt more and more is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, for sure. They become protagonists where they're just kind of pulling you along. Like my first time exposing the oracle deck, I created, for those of you who are watching or listening, I created an oracle deck. It's a 40 card deck, and it includes 40 of my favorite paintings and a little booklet in here that I wrote. So it's my first piece of published writing as well. And we can talk about that after, because I've been a closeted writer since I was 12 years old. And so I've been writing privately and quietly and never exposed it to the world. And so this oracle deck has brought me to places, Casa Cipriani in New York, the Hamptons, Calgary. I've been teaching with it, and my own teacher, 5 weeks after coming out of a small yoga course, invited me to teach with her collaboratively this fall. So there's a lot of things happening from it that are really, what I asked was to be of service more and more, because painting high-end luxury goods, of course, it's a form of service. People live with my work, they weep at my work, they are moved by my work, they collect it, and they mean a lot to me and have for the duration of my career. But what I was asking my higher power for was more integration with one-on-one relationship with people, and this is what's been coming about.
I love this. Gosh, we're speaking the same language. I love it. And for those of you listening, you have to check the oracle deck. It is, well, of course, it is a piece of art because you did all of it. I didn't know you had done the writing. So that's like an extra special touch. But it is so stunning. And I wonder, how did this come along? Because I'm sure a lot of people were like, "Ooh, I didn't see this coming." Right?
Yeah.
How did it come to you?
Yeah. And for context for your listeners and those watching, I've done custom work for interior designers and private clients for 18 years. So I've done over 600 custom commissions. So I built my business on customer service, listening to brands and clients and delivering something that they ask for, which is well within the realm of what it is that I'm making. So for example, if someone loves this and it's sold, they're able to ask for it in blues or larger or whatever, and we work together. So my business has been based off of painting, quite expensive paintings. They're not expensive to some people, but for some people they're inaccessible. And so I was praying for a way that I could have something more affordable, and I didn't want to do prints. So it felt like I was stuck between a rock and a hard place, because I didn't want to go to like allposters.com, because people would always say, for my whole career, they've been like, make prints. And I'm like, I'll do like a limited edition. Like we're doing a very limited edition, beautiful set of prints for the historic Waldorf Astoria in New York coming up, which we're so proud of as a company, and so excited and honored to do that. And in those cases where it's niche and it's really specific, of course, but what I wanted to do was pair the visuals of my work with my writing and put them in a box so that people who had been longtime fans could collect something that was like, retrospective in a box, but that also they were able to be of service. So I really believe in quiet contemplative time and journaling, and each card contains a journal prompt as well, so people can be supported while journaling, because of what I was hearing from people was that I love journaling, I've seen its effectiveness, but I'm unable to continue to maintain the practice. How do you maintain that practice? And I believe it's quite simple, but it's one of the most effective tools that's helped support me in my sobriety and my healing. And journaling just means so much to me. So I wanted to share that with the world.
Wow. Okay. This is so good. And you've mentioned, let's go there. Let's talk about your healing, because you've mentioned it a few times. If that feels comfortable, do you want to talk to us a
Yeah,
little
of course.
more about this? Because um, it's everywhere right now. It's really everywhere right now. So talk to me about it.
Yeah. Yeah, we're in a time of awareness, right? Everything has been revealed to us. We have access to podcasts and YouTube and information. And so if you imagine in the 80s, if there was a speaker who was talking about wellness or breathing or psychedelics or cancer, whatever it was specific in, say, California, only people who were able to sit in front of that microphone were able to hear it. So we're in a time of like expansion. And as you and I and many of us know and feel deeply, it's like, we got to move through it to get through it. We got to feel it to heal it. And we are many times, in most cases, the first people from our lineage who are willing and or have been given the tools to heal. And so we have this ancestry of people who haven't been able to talk about it or to feel it or to cry or to move in the ways that we now have access to. So I mention that because I don't think people quite understand. People are like, whoa, it feels like I'm on a rocket ship and this is insane. And it's like, it is, because your entire lineage didn't really this is a really new rapid time and it's happening so quickly. And so we're given these modalities yeah, it's just a really, it's happening all around us. And specifically, my healing journey started when I believe it started 8 years ago, almost 8 years ago, when I got sober from alcohol. I needed to get sober, and I actually got sober in Montreal. And I felt like I was carrying my life uphill. I felt like my life was a burden. I felt like I couldn't carry on. I felt like I was forcing everything. I felt like the inside didn't match the outside. I felt fake. I was tired. My kids were young, and I knew that they deserved a sober mom. But I got sober first for myself. And, it's something that we do alone, but we can't stay sober alone. So since then, I've engaged in a recovery community and hang out with a lot of people who are either in recovery or just don't drink for other reasons. And I hang out with people who drink sometimes too, but it's less and less common in my circle of friends. And a lot of us are just diving headfirst into facing what it is that was under all this rubble and making peace with it so that we can be of service.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations. It's it.
Thanks.
We don't realize how all of these, I'm going to call them distractions, right? Because for you, it was alcohol. For others, it's Netflix. For others, it's our phone. For others, it's, sex, or there's so many different ways that addiction can come in the way. And they're a form of protection. Basically, it keeps us from not looking sometimes or not feeling. And so I'm glad you went and did that journey within, which is the hardest journey. It's the journey of a lifetime. And this journey of healing keeps unraveling, right? There's always more. And I'm sure that now, even 8 years in, you're like, oh, okay. And there's that. Oh, okay. And I didn't see that one coming, right? There's always new layers. But when you do it from this place of inner clarity, things change, right? So I'm glad you did that. And it seems like now you are being called to support and be a leader in that community even more. And it's so needed. It's so needed. And it's interesting because even, I'm preparing a big birthday party for my birthday. And we were just looking at the people coming, and 3/4 don't drink. And I'm like, isn't that cool? I mean, so it just shows, there's really this awareness out there, whether you are doing it for purely wellness or biohacking reasons, or if you're doing it because you've done the work. It's incredible. And I'm so excited we are here, living in this timeline where we get to witness this. Like you said, more and more available. So that's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about, well, maybe before, because some people might not know your work, I would love to hear you describe your art like, how would you describe it to someone who doesn't know your style? How would you describe it?
Yeah, thanks. It's tough. I mean, I would really encourage them to just look up my name and creep on my Instagram, first of all. But when I describe, I walk people through my showroom. I have a showroom here in Vancouver, and I walk people through the work. And when we walk through the work, I explain that I have three bodies of work. I have figurative work, which is the body or portraits or human beings laying down. I have work that is abstracted landscape, and then I have the newest series, which is a vessel series. So this is a U-shaped kind of cup or bowl or a holding space. And the most recent work, the vessel work, is I wanted to see if I could use abstraction and the metaphor of the vessel to talk about the human experience. So instead of having say a painting of a sad man called Sad Man where he's crying, this is a literal depiction of one sort of human experience of being sad. And it sort of points the viewer directly at one particular experience. What I wanted to do was see if I could use the vessel to talk about the broader experience of the body being a vessel and us carrying sort of the weight of what it is that we're carrying, and then our experiences of being influenced by the internal and external energies in and around the vessel. So it's a complex kind of art school way of saying it's a metaphor for the body. The figurative work is autobiographical. I have a lot of it online that people can look at. I've made a lot of it recently. It's autobiographical in that it is titled in ways that allude to certain experiences that I've had, but that I hope speak to the human experience. And the abstracted landscapes are just simply abstracted landscapes. They're emotive color field paintings that clients have collected now for almost 20 years that are just really beautiful. They can be like pensive, calm, Tofino vibes, and clients love them.
It's so beautiful. And yes, we're going to put all your links in the show notes. You have to go, even if it's just for like to immerse yourself in this like beauty. It's there's really, for me anyway, there's a lot of resonance in everything you create. So I'm curious because when we are an entrepreneur, there's a part of us that needs to tap into this creative energy. For you, it's like 10x because you literally are creating. And like you say, they're parts of you, parts of your story. And so I'm curious to know how you're able to wear both hats and still be able to thrive after almost 20 years of this duality of, you got to make sure you're paying the rent and paying the team and making sure the business is thriving and growing and getting new customers, but at the same time, being able to just be so that you can create from that place, this authentic place. So I'm curious to hear you on that.
Yeah, I'm really at this crossroads right now where you've caught me in an interesting moment, because I wouldn't answer that question the same way sort of 6 months or a year ago where I'm at now, because I mentioned to you that I'm, that for most of my career, I have been, people have applauded my capacity to pair commerce with creativity. So people from the outside, everything from my business coaches to my accountant, to friends, to colleagues, to fans on Instagram, everyone has says, congratulations, you have been able to take commerce and creativity and pair those things together. And in many ways, this has brought me a really good life, a good living, and I've supported my family on and off almost entirely by myself through many years, and now as a single mom. So I support myself through this, and I'm very proud of that. That said, the marrying of the two causes an immense amount of pain that not a lot of people see. I think my staff, I've always had a studio manager for the last decade. I've had 4 in total over a 10-year period, and they work most closely with me. And at times they assist me in the back. They know everything from the backside of every piece of my business to the inside of my heart. And they've, walked with me through, they've just been integral. They're more than family to me. And it's a very vulnerable to show some random young person, the inside of your finances and the inside of your heart. And so, and I owe them a lot, and I have trusted them a lot through this journey. Recently, I have come to recognize that I have so many more gifts than I am able to express through a silent medium. So writing, public speaking, speaking on podcasts, sharing about sobriety, teaching yoga, facilitating things. I've started facilitating workshops for like EO and YPO and different groups I've spoken at, Summit, Hatch, etc. So essentially that I have found that there are different avenues where my voice wants to resonate, and holding on to pairing commerce and creativity and having a heavy overhead, like a high overhead, has come to kind of I'm not exactly thriving all the time, let's just say. And who knows what thriving means anyways, right? Like it's like I'm learning, I'm growing.
Yes.
Like I'm I barely kept it together, but I have, and here we are. So like I may be at a crossroads where I, lower my overhead so that I can come to sort of see some of these gifts come to fruition. And so I'm making hard decisions right now about how we're going to kind of move forward as a company and what that's going to look like. And yet it'll all have a lot of the same ingredients and the same soul. What I've invested in is, and for everyone listening who is an entrepreneur or an early entrepreneur, especially, like what I have that can never be taken away from me is my integrity. And people work with me because they trust me. And there's so many clients who've worked with me for like well over a decade who are like, of course I'll be, yesterday I had a huge, this really important person was like, but of course I closed my book deal yesterday and I wanted to tell you that of course your art will be on the cover. This is the kind of love and care and loyalty that comes from my community, because my ethos has always been non-negotiable. No matter what has shifted or changed, we don't deviate from that. And so I think that that's been the center of my longevity, and is what allows me to put my head on my pillow at night and be proud of myself, no matter what's kind of where the pieces are kind of falling.
So much to unpack here, and thank you for sharing this side of entrepreneurship. And I saw you getting vulnerable there. It's such a lonely road, and at the same time, we couldn't see ourselves doing anything else. And that's the crazy duality about it. It's like, but who would put themselves in such a crazy precarious situation? And yet we do it again and again, and we choose it again and again. But the reality is that it can be a very lonely road. And like you said, when we start opening up and hiring, it's just so gut-wrenching and nerve-wrenching. And it's like, but wait, there's so many parts I'm not willing to, I don't know. Is it safe? It's like, there is so much unknown. And I always say entrepreneurship is the ultimate personal development journey. You get to go on a highway and do, a lifetime of therapy through a business, because it's going to show you all the places where we still have resistance, or we still have old beliefs, or we still have, old stories that we believe about ourselves that, it's time to break free. And every time you peel one layer, there's always one more. But I love to see that even after 20 years in business, you are still looking at evolving. You are still looking at growing. You are still looking at optimizing. And I think this is so inspiring for women to hear, because sometimes we think that when we start a business, it's got to look the same way forever. It's like we're married to this business plan. And I always say, of course not. It's going to evolve just like it you will. And I love that you are leaning in towards the parts of you that make you unique, because it's your totality. It's all of it that makes you this magnetic artist, woman, leader. And of course, you're getting these opportunities left, right, and center because you are stepping into that and you are leaning into that. And of course, more is going to open, right? So it's so beautiful to witness. And I know it's going to just work itself in the perfect way for you, because it's all meant to be.
Yeah, and I just want to mention, I hope this supports some of your listeners, because I think, and this is no offense to people who pitch vision and coaches who really want us to have a vision, but I just want to mention that at times I haven't been able to have a vision, and in the past 3 years it's been so hard for me, and so at times I didn't even have a vision for myself, like a 3-day vision or a 6-month vision for the company. And what I did in that time was I just kept leaning in on my daily practices. So I've been cold plunging once to twice a week minimum for the last 4 years. I stayed in my recovery program. If I could drag myself out for a walk, I would. Like I couldn't listen to any podcasts, so I would listen to beautiful music. Like I just did whatever I could every single day to get to this place. So it wasn't a grand arrival. I said in my last podcast interview that it was less of a phoenix rising and more of a crow digging through the garbage. It was not, this is the culmination of a daily practice, and at times an hourly practice, where I drag myself in here, and my teenagers have been struggling up and down, and it's been a slog. And so I think if you can't see the full vision, like just put one foot in front of the other, and lift your chin up too. Sometimes I think people think that we're always brave, people like you and I, and at times I've really just had to keep my chin up to keep my self-esteem going, and just to lift my head up to just see a little bit higher on that horizon.
Yeah, because the truth is, a lot of people think that once we get to that level, all fears will disappear and happiness will unfold. And of course not, because you keep growing. So of course fears keep evolving and everything keeps evolving with you. And so all we got is our ability to deal with it in the moment. That's all we got. And so I always say, there is no shiny object. It's because the gold post keeps moving with you. So there's no chasing the shiny object. There's we are climbing this mountain with no top, and that's called life. And it's our lifetime mission to just, like you say, put one foot in front of the other through aligned action. So even if it's micro actions, like going for a walk, and that's why I love that you're doing this, because I'm such a huge fan of having anchored daily rituals. And that's really, that's what's going to make life. That's what's going to compound. If you can put yourself in this higher state, even if it's hard, but you intentionally can lean into your practices, of course you're going to go somewhere. The path will reveal itself, and look at you. And sometimes it takes a while, and sometimes you're like, okay, universe, let's go, chop chop, I'm ready. And then suddenly you figure out, nope, there was something else I needed to go and see and explore.
Yeah, totally.
Well, I'm excited to see, what comes next out of this for all of you, because it seems like you are being called into even more leadership. And does that mean you're gonna stop painting, or what does that look like?
No, I would never. I mean, I can't even, that doesn't even, it's like stopping breathing. I would never stop painting. So yeah, that's such a big part of my business too, that it's like, no, it's the RV that's going to get us all wherever the hell we're going. So we're still
It's the lifeline. It's the lifeline.
Yeah.
And so I'm just curious to know, in terms of before, so how, do you have calling for your paintings, or do you wake up one day and you're like, oh, this is it now? Like, how do you have a ritual to open up your creative channels, or do you just follow your intuition, and just go at it when it comes and you clear your schedule? Like, how does this thing happen?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have sort of two ways that I make work. I make custom paintings. So that's a commission that someone would order. And so for those ones, I get really specific with the client about what it is that they're looking for. We get specific about a size, colors, etc. So Christina, our studio manager, really dials that in on email, or on the phone, or if they can physically come into the showroom, that's always helpful. Or we go to their home sometimes for site-specific commissions if it's more complex. So about 50% of my business is custom work, and I really love it. It's you act sort of more like a graphic designer, or like someone who designs a website, or someone who's designing like a custom wedding cake for somebody. It's a really intimate process, but it's more sort of agreed upon. The terms are agreed upon at the beginning. And so within that, though, if we can get really tight terms, then I'm really fluid to paint. I'm really free within that expression and that experience. So it's not like a contrived feeling while I'm making the work, which is sort of counterintuitive. But I do believe that if you have a really strong container, if you think about if you have like an ice rink that has specific size and specific texture to the top of it, and a specific conditions, then the skater can like do their thing, so we need to have conditions within which we can kind of execute the highest level work for our clients. So that's custom work. And then when I'm making stuff like this, where I'm just freestyle, free form, like making things that are autobiographical, what I'm doing is, for this one, for example, it's just easy for the viewer to sort of see. If you're on YouTube, there's a full moon behind my head, and we've got this figure that's laying down. And long story short is I'll come up with a concept, usually starts with writing. And so I was doing a lot of figurative works. And then on the day of the full moon, it kind of culminated in this idea that, all of these different figures or portraits had kind of run through, or characters, I guess, had kind of run through the previous month of my life. What I wanted and needed to do was like rest and lie down in front of this full moon. And so I believe that we're in this time where rest and restoration and restorative, contemplative, receiving is really important for the feminine, especially, and the feminine in all of us, and for all of us. And so this figure is lying down in front of this full moon, basking in the fullness of what it is that they've done. It's sort of like the day is done, the work is done. Let's receive.
Yeah, and that's why it needs to come to my home. We gotta find a way to make this. I was actually thinking, like, this could be my new background for my office. I love it.
Of course.
Oh. So, okay, so you kind of just, let yourself actually get into this rest state, this state of being, to see, okay, what needs to come through. And then, like, for example, did you paint this the night of the full moon, or did you, like, the next day, you were like, okay, let's do this?
Yeah, the Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So the full moon fell on a Sunday. So I did it, like, I straddled. I think I touched it up a little bit on the Monday, but it was pretty much done on that day. Yeah.
Wow, I love it. And I love what you mentioned about the container. It is so true. And you touched on it also about, you said, the group that you are aligned with when it comes to, saying sober. That's also a container, sometimes it's a community, sometimes it's actual physical boundaries, sometimes it's a timeline, but having some sort of limits is so helpful in creative work. I like that. And I think often people ask me, like, how do you come up with all these ideas? And I guess in a way, I'm not painting, but I'm doing it in a different form. And yeah, I create this container for myself. And for me, it looks like daily rituals in my schedule. Like, I have minimum 2 hours every single day for creative energy. Otherwise, it's got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Way too much creative energy. But But also I know what it feels like, because my first business, I did it without tapping into this at all, ever. It was just boom, 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 meeting after meeting, hustling. And I know how, you mentioned this contemplation, this rest, this allowing, this surrendering, this receiving. I never felt that before. And now I'm running this business with such a different vibe. And it's like, yes, and we get to do this, and it gets to be better, and it gets to feel good, and it gets to be so aligned and so great. So I think you have the recipe to make your next step, spectacular and so aligned with your higher mission, your higher calling. And as we are recording this during the week of the Lionsgate portal.
Yeah.
Of course you are feeling the crunch right now, because it's like we're in it. And what I love is I am feeling this too. I've been feeling it since, I guess, for about 2 months now, but it's whatever you've been trying to be like, not now, it's okay, but not now. It's like, no. It's now. It's time. It's go time. And what about we 10x this? So that's how it feels right now. So I get it. I feel you.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Well, listen, we could spend so much time chatting, and I know we will continue offline. But thank you. And I hope that every woman listening, not only got inspired, but discovered a woman that will inspire them visually for their eyes, and hopefully more very soon. You are, and especially if there's any Vancouverites or anybody in BC listening, you have a studio, right? You have a
yes.
You can come and visit.
Yeah, we have a showroom in Kitsilano. Come down, say hi, come have a coffee, tea.
Oh my gosh. And did I see that you have one of your painting at Turf as well?
Yeah, I have a rotating number of paintings there at Turf, and the Oracle deck is available there and in 10 different locations in Vancouver. So it's all around and available online.
Turf used to be my hanging place. I used to be there all the time. So I love the kids' vibes.
Yeah.
So Zoe, where can people find you if they want to dive into your world?
Everything is available under my name, ZoePawlak, Zoe Pawlak, at Zoe Pawlak for Instagram. It's just my name for everything, and it's all there.
Awesome. We'll put the links in the show note, and please go and check the Oracle deck. This is so good. Thank you, my dear. And I will pay very close attention to your next steps. I'm excited.
Yes.
Thank you.
The information shared on this podcast is for information purposes only and doesn't provide any medical advice. Vanessa Grutman does not cure, diagnose, or treat disease. Please consult your physician before trying any new protocol or product.